Good afternoon, and welcome to the TEC production of Bullet Writing Basics. I am Chief Master Sergeant Christine Shawhan.
And I am Master Sergeant Cindy Dickson. We are very excited for our first live broadcast of this class, and thank you for joining us. Along with the information we are presenting during this broadcast, we have Master Sergeant Augusto Gonzalez and Mr. Larry McCoy ready to take your questions through link or email. Please see their information displayed on the screen. Chief, why does the Air National Guard want us to focus on writing better bullets?
There's a lot of good reasons for this, Sergeant Dickson. The first one is we want to be able to acknowledge and recognize the hard work that our people are doing. A well-developed bullet can tell a big story in a small amount of space. Second, we want to be able to help our airmen develop individually as well as a total force. Well-written EPRs and awards packages can open the doors for special duty assignments, developmental duty, and even commissioning opportunities. And finally, if nothing else, we don't want our EPRs coming back looking like this. There are plenty of reasons for an evaluation to come back looking like this. You might lack the experience to write an effective bullet and are having a hard time writing your airman's performance in this format. Or you might not know your leadership's writing styles or preferences. Communication both up and down the chain is very important through this entire process. Hopefully once the broadcast is over, you'll feel more confident about bullet writing skills and minimize the amount of corrections coming back to you.
During the next 45 minutes, we will cover a lot of information. First, getting started will give you the foundation to bullet writing. Second, we'll talk about drafting the accomplishment impact bullet and introduce you to the elements of the bullet: action, impact, and result. We'll also mention the concept of being accurate, brief, and specific to help you improve your bullet. Finally, we'll practice with a couple of scenarios. In order to be successful, you must get organized. People have different ways to gather and store information. You may prefer electronic or hard copies of notes. One more way is through the use of MyVector on the Air Force portal. Chief, can you tell me more about this MyVector link?
Absolutely. MyVector is designed by the Air Force as a tool to help with the professional development of our airmen. It can be used for mentoring, career planning, and knowledge sharing. But for today's focus, we're going to focus on the bullet tracker. Watch this video for some of its features. When EPR time rolls around, are you scrambling to remember what you've done all year? Through the MyVector Bullet Tracker, the Air Force has just made it a lot easier to track all of your accomplishments. Just like an ammo magazine, the Bullet Tracker will keep all of your bullets in one place until you're ready to pull the trigger on your EPR. The Bullet Tracker will help to make sure your bullets are the correct format to hit their target. It is available anywhere you can access the Air Force portal. From the Air Force portal homepage, scroll down to the Education, Training, Force Development category and click on MyVector. After logging in, click on Bullet Tracker from the left-hand column. Next, click Start New Bullet Tracker. Enter the rank of who the tracker is for. Then add the supervisor's start and end date. Typically, this will be the static closeout date associated with that member's rank. Finish this form with the supervisor's name and any additional comments. Once complete, click on Create Bullet Tracker. You are now ready to add your bullet. Click on Add a Bullet. On this page, you will start by selecting the category from the drop-down menu and fill in the text fields. Don't forget to use the AIR method: action, impact, and result. What you did, how you did it, and the so what of what you did. It doesn't have to be perfect. The idea is to get the bullets down. Once done, click on Create Bullet. Now you've entered all of your bullets, you can use Export PDF to save your information and send to your supervisor. You now have a year's worth of bullets locked and loaded to give you the ammo needed when EPR time rolls around. Once you've gathered all your information, you're almost ready to start building your bullets. But just a few more reminders and ground rules before we get started. First, you have to know what form you're going to be using and its requirements. There are AFIs, ANGIs, policy letters, and unit guidance to help you with the correct process and format to point you in the right direction. For example, if you're building a 1206 for an award package, you need to know the requirements for each category and how many total bullets are needed. Second, be sure to avoid errors when developing your bullets. You should not be using two-line bullets. All the information should fit on one line using a three-part bullet format. Three-part bullets are more specific and better showcase our airmen's accomplishments. We'll cover the specific parts of the three-part bullets later in the broadcast. Also, you need to ensure that your bullets are properly categorized. Read the headings and information on what's included in each section. This is extremely important on our EPRs. Each section will actually give you examples on what should be included in each block. Additionally, we need to highlight some of the radar evaluation traps people can fall into. We're all human, and sometimes we need to make sure we're evaluating our airmen fairly. Don't rate someone based on recent events at the time of closeout. You're evaluating an entire period. This can be applied in both good and bad situations. Also, be mindful that you're not rating everybody right down the middle. There are those who rise to the top and should be properly highlighted and identified. And finally, be sure to allow additional time for editing your bullets. Have someone look it over and check it for misspelling, grammar, and typos. You can also use the tongue and quill for additional references to your writing guide. Now that we're organized and reviewed the errors to avoid, let's finish it off with a few more ground rules. There should be only one action or accomplishment per bullet. Always start your bullet with an action verb and remembering who you're writing this on. Numbers make the bullet better. It gives it that extra punch. And don't oversimplify your job. As airmen, we are doing amazing things. Think about how your job is affecting the big picture. And always use the right words to showcase the proper level and impact. This is both for the rank and the organization.
There are basic construction rules to consider when building your bullet. Bullets are not sentences. If you're using pronouns and ending with a punctuation, you're doing it wrong. There's internal punctuation that comes into play when writing a bullet. In a three-part bullet, the single dash up front, the semicolon after the action, and the double dash after the impact are essential to this process. No matter what form you are using, this is the format to remember. Additionally, the order of the information is always the same as we saw in the bullet tracker video. You have an action, which is what you did, the impact, what it affected, and the result, the effect on the big picture. Let's start with the action or the accomplishment element. This always starts with an action verb. On pages 14 and 15 in your writing guide, there's a list of action verbs and adverbs to help you get started. For example, processed over 300 mobility records with no errors as part of the 81st Air Base Wing ORE. What did the airmen do? Well, they processed records with no errors, but there's not much detail here. Next is the impact. I look at this as the Diet Coke of results, meaning it's an immediate result that doesn't focus on the big picture. How did it affect the organization and at what level? The work center, the unit, the wing? For our example, we included all unit personnel met their scheduled chalk times. Once again, they ripple from each other. Because they processed the records, all unit personnel met their scheduled chalk times. You can see that this example shows a wing level of impact because it has the 81st Air Base Wing ORE in it. Without that, it kind of looks like a work center level impact bullet and might require further information. We're almost done. The last part is the result section of the bullet. What is the end outcome of the action and impact?
Sergeant Dickson, the impact and the result, are they interchangeable? Because they're kind of sounding the same to me.
Be careful, Chief. The result is that big picture we talked about, the big finish for the bullet. That's the real end result that we want to see for the overall mission. Once again, they ripple from each other. Because she processed the records, everyone met their scheduled chalk times, and as a result, the wing received a highly effective rating. But we aren't done yet. Now, I hear you're good at editing, Chief. How do we make it all fit on one line?
We have to start with using the ABS method. This is where we're going to really trim the fat. Here we are focusing on being accurate, brief, and specific. Accuracy is ensuring that your information is correct. This is very important when writing bullets on multiple airmen. We must stay in tune with our core values and integrity. Next, we use brevity. This is not just replacing long words with short, clear, and common terms, such as car in place of automobile, but it's also removing the words that make the bullet look like a sentence. Using abbreviations and acronyms can also help with keeping the statement brief. There's a tongue and quill approved list beginning on page 16 in your writing guide. The final step in ABS is being specific. We need to use detailed facts and numbers. Sergeant Dickson, do you remember what our bullet looked like when we started?
Yes, we used processed over 300 records as our action.
With ABS, the problem with using over 300 is it could be 301 or 398, so we've updated the statement. Processed 342 error-free mobility records during the 81st ABW ORE. Ensured 100% unit personnel met their scheduled chalk times paramount to the unit achieving a highly effective IG rating.
Hey, I can see it's more specific, but it still isn't going to fit on one line. What else can we do, Chief?
Well, let's look at the bullet one more time using all of ABS. Here is our version of the bullet. We've taken out those extra words that make it a sentence. We've used some abbreviations, and we've made it more accurate, brief, and specific. You may come up with something a little bit different, but as long as the important parts are there, we're all working towards the same goal, building a better bullet around action, impact, and result. Now it's your turn. Read the following scenario. It can also be found on page 12 of your writing guide.
You can see here in the highlighted areas, we've pulled out some of the potentially important information we can use to build Master Sergeant Taylor's bullet. Another thing to remember when writing bullets and selecting action verbs is we must look at the member's rank and the responsibilities associated with that rank according to the Little Brown Book. For instance, in this scenario, Master Sergeant Taylor is a senior NCO, so her bullet should reflect that of a senior NCO. This helps with guiding the deliberate development of our airmen. Now let's see what we can do with this scenario.
Now this one is okay in that it shows a good action verb, but it still lacks some punch. It really doesn't have any numbers. Remember, numbers make it more accurate and specific. It also doesn't have the best big picture result. Sergeant Dickson, I think we can do better. What do you got?
This bullet is a little better. Good action verb, but notice that it doesn't truly describe what she did as a senior NCO, and that the result is not the best one possible. We are thinking big picture with our results. Let's try this one more time, Chief. What is the real impact and result to this?
Now we have it. It has an eye-catching action verb that is equal to her rank. As discussed, Master Sergeants should be leading, managing, and developing actions. It has numbers that are going to grab the reader's attention, and it has a real big picture. The award is the immediate impact, but potentially saving lives of our greatest asset is the result we're really looking for. Now let's try another one, but this time it's your turn to develop the bullet. Using the AIR format, take a moment to read this scenario. It can also be found on page 13 of your writing guide. Welcome back. Hopefully you've been able to come up with something looking a little bit like this. We have properly captured the action, impact, and the result. At this point in the airman's career, completing their higher education is very significant. Even though the CCAF isn't required until promoting to Senior Master Sergeant, the CCAF will open the doors for special duty AFSCs and stat tour opportunities.
Like most things, practice makes perfect. Let's go through one more. Read the scenario, and then we will discuss the highlights. Once again, you can see here in the highlighted areas, we've pulled out some of the potentially important information we can use to build Staff Sergeant Robinson's bullet. Using this information, take 5 minutes to develop your own bullet for Sergeant Robinson, and then we will compare it to what we have.
Welcome back. Hopefully you've been able to come up with something that looks a little bit like this. Now we've given you a couple of options and neither one is more right than the other. It's all about preference of telling the story. There's an appropriate action, an immediate impact, and a big picture result.
We've covered a lot of information in the last 45 minutes. We began with getting started, including how to get organized, gather information, and know the correct format and common errors to avoid. This gave you the foundation to start building the bullet. While covering the drafting of an accomplishment impact bullet, you were introduced to the AIR elements of a bullet. Those are action, impact, and result. As we needed to streamline the bullet, we covered the concept of accuracy, brevity, and specificity. This helped with trimming the fat and kept the bullet to one line. Finally, great job working through the scenario and applying the basic principles we covered.
Every day our airmen accomplish great things for their unit at the wing, command, and community level. When it comes time to recognize them for their efforts, it's up to you as the supervisor to accurately portray their dedication and commitment. Don't be the supervisor whose evaluations or 1206s come back with red all over them because you've lacked the skills to write the effective bullet. Everyone deserves a supervisor who can clearly show how their actions have impacted the organization and contributed to the mission. At the beginning of this broadcast, it was our hope that you would now feel better about how to write an effective bullet.
Please feel free to contact us with questions or concerns you might have. We also welcome feedback for future broadcasts. We will keep the contact information up following the broadcast. Thanks again for tuning in and have a great Air Force Day.